The Sovereign Game Chapter 3, Let the Room Decide, by M.J.J. Taylor. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Crowds crown the king. Interpretation. Power doesn't exist in a vacuum. No matter how brilliant your ideas, no matter how sharp your ambition, no matter how strong your will, you will find yourself in a room, a council, a meeting, a dinner table, a battlefield tent, where others will weigh you silently. And it's not always the truth of your worth that decides your fate. It's what the room feels about you, what the room believes, what the room whispers when you leave. The room decides means that power is rarely won by logic alone. It is social, atmospheric, alive. Rooms are breathing ecosystems of hierarchy, fear, desire, unspoken alliances, and invisible battles. Step into any boardroom, war council, or family gathering and watch closely. You will see that the most influential person is often not the one with the best idea, but the one who understands the rhythm of the room and bends it to their will. This chapter is about learning that you do not rise in isolation. You rise because a room lets you. You fall because a room turns on you. Sovereignty begins with reading the room like a hunter reads the wind, where the loyalties lie, where silence hides dissent, where a nod is more lethal than a sword. Power isn't always taken. Often it is conferred or denied by the mood, hunger, and collective judgment of others. If you want to command the future, you must first learn to command the atmosphere of the present. The room is the first battlefield of power, and it never decides fairly. It decides emotionally, collectively, and often without saying a word. Historical example: the Mongol siege strategy. If you can't convince a fortress to open its gates, make the gates irrelevant. Attributed to Subutai, Mongol general. When the Mongols descended upon the cities of Eurasia in the 13th century, they rarely relied on brute force alone. They understood that every siege wasn't just a battle against stone walls. It was a battle against the minds of the people inside. They would surround a city, cut off its resources, send captured prisoners back starving and terrified, light massive fires at night to make their numbers seem endless. Fear, whispers, rumors. They turned the defenders' own rooms against them. Often the city leaders would break long before the gates did. The room inside the fortress, the council of nobles, the commanders, the priests, would fracture under the weight of doubt, exhaustion, and paranoia. Some wanted to surrender, others to fight, others to betray allies to save themselves. The Mongols didn't have to conquer the city. The room decided to give it away. This was the genius of their strategy. Power could be won without swinging a sword. If you understood that the decision was never just made on the battlefield, it was made in the chamber where fear and ambition argued in silence. Modern example: tech company valuations. Perception is reality until the money runs out. Venture capitalist, Silicon Valley 2018. In today's startup world, billion-dollar valuations aren't always born from hard numbers. Many times they're born in pitch meetings, investment dinners, and late-night conversations where a handful of people, venture capitalists, journalists, influential founders, decide what a company is worth. Think of WeWork before its fall. Its valuation skyrocketed into the tens of billions, not because it had revolutionary technology, but because charismatic founders filled rooms with vision, buzzwords, and carefully staged enthusiasm. Investors didn't buy numbers. They bought atmosphere. One nod from a respected name, one standing ovation after a dramatic pitch, and suddenly every hand in the room followed. The truth of the company didn't matter, only what the room decided to believe about it. And that belief echoed into the world, creating wealth and power out of thin air. In every era, decisions that shape destinies are made not by perfect logic, but by collective emotion in confined spaces. Folktale: The Clever Servant and the Lion Throne, India, 1600s. In a kingdom of India centuries ago, the old king died, leaving two sons. The council couldn't decide who should rule. The elder had the bloodline, the younger had the people's love. The council argued for days until a servant whispered to them, "If you can't decide who is king, let the lion decide." The servant placed the royal crown on a carved lion throne in the square and told the brothers to step forward, one at a time, to claim it. The crowd watched. The elder brother hesitated, waiting for permission from the council. The younger walked straight to the throne, bowed to the lion, and lifted the crown without asking. The crowd roared. The council bent to the will of the people. The younger son became king, not because of blood or law, but because the room decided, and he understood how to win its heart before his rival even dared to move. Tactical placement. Every room you enter is a battleground for invisible decisions. People rarely say what they truly think. They test the air, watch each other's reactions, and follow whoever sets the tone first. If you want to gain power, you cannot just have the right idea or the strongest argument. You must shape the emotional climate of the room. Before you speak, watch. Who holds sway without talking? Who is secretly doubted but publicly feared? Who looks for cues before agreeing? Who rolls their eyes when others aren't watching? The room decides not by logic, but by energy, by alliances, by confidence. If you can tilt those elements, you can win before anyone realizes a choice was made. Sometimes this means saying less than you know, letting silence work for you while others oversell their case. Sometimes it means backing someone publicly so they owe you later. Sometimes it means delivering one well-timed phrase that cuts through noise and makes the room lean in. Presence, timing, and emotional intelligence are weapons as sharp as any blade. The skilled sovereign doesn't force decisions. They shape the atmosphere until the room cannot imagine deciding any other way. Apply this in relationships. Rooms decide who is valued in social circles. Win the mood, not just the person. Leadership. Meetings are emotional theaters. Control tone, posture, and timing to guide outcomes. Manipulation. Plant ideas subtly before the decision is made so they seem like consensus, not command. Friendship. Sway group dynamics by being calm, charismatic, and strategic with your words. Reversal. If you obsess over reading the room, you risk becoming a chameleon with no spine. Rooms are fickle. They sway with gossip, fear, and impulse. Sometimes true power is standing firm even when a room turns against you, because the next room, or history itself, will decide differently. Influence the moment, yes, but never be enslaved to it. Power principles. Decisions are rarely made on truth alone. Rooms choose what feels safe or exciting. Emotional atmosphere often outweighs logic in group choices. Presence and timing can win battles before they start. Influence is not about speaking the most, but being remembered the most. The room's decision is never final. It can be bent, swayed, or outlived. Closing thoughts. Power lives and dies in rooms long before it makes headlines. Empires rise because a council agrees. Deals are struck because a room feels right about a handshake. Reputations are built or destroyed in whispered moments when you're not even there. To ignore this is to surrender control of your destiny to moods and murmurs you never noticed. But once you learn to read the room, to sense where influence flows, where fear sits, where silence shouts louder than words, you become more than just a participant. You become a conductor, shaping the energy, bending the decision toward you without force. Every powerful person you admire, from emperors to CEOs to legends of history, won not just on battlefields or in markets, but in rooms where people decided, quietly, whether to follow or abandon them. Remember this truth. The room decides, but you can decide what the room feels, sees, and believes. Master that, and you will never enter a room powerless again.